Good evening. Ira Epstein with your financial market wrap-up, and this wrap-up is for the evening of Wednesday, and this is the 6th of March, 2024, about 6:05 p.m. Central Time. Remember, I think we have a time shift taking place this weekend. I got to get used to that myself, but we spring forward at this point, as I understand it. So today was all about Fed Chair Powell, and what he said, what rung on me was, number one, the Fed's looking at the grouping of the data. Without any surprises, they expect to cut or ease rates this year. He didn't say how many. He didn't say when it would begin, but he does expect, when he was asked directly that question, for that. We're still seeing the JOLTS data that came out today at 8.8, 8.9 million, still very strong, a lot of job offerings there. The ADP number came in at 140,000 jobs. That's a volatile number. We get on Friday the jobs report. They're looking for about 198,000 jobs. Tomorrow, what we're also going to get is the Challenger Gray estimate for their planned U.S. employer cuts, the January trade balance, fourth quarter revised productivity data. It's so old, I don't know that it matters at this point. Energy analysts are going to look and report on the withdrawals, billion cubic feet. They're looking for 47, which is not a big number, by the way. The Cleveland Fed President Mester, well, she'll be competing with Fed Chair Powell as he's on TV in front of the Senate getting drilled again. But suffice to say, there were a lot of questions today about the new banking regulations. He did leak out that they might be too tough on the big banks, and they're going to start reviewing that. So nothing is in concrete. The market hung on every word. As you can imagine, the stocks are up because the world's waiting to see who's going to cut, where's the cut going to come from first by the central banks. Today you had the Bank of Canada, they didn't cut. Poland didn't cut. Tomorrow morning, we're going to get the European Central Bank. I don't expect them to make a cut. We get our jobs report, and then later in the month, we get our the Fed, and they're not expected to cut at all. So the question is, who's going to be the first out there to do it? And when it does it, I want to throw this out there. Will you be so high up in the stock market that you've already discounted it? Or are you thinking you're just on your way to 6,000 and the market's not going to back off because everybody's going to cut down the road? Those are really different schools of thought, but are realistic to talk about. For the week, and you're already going into Thursday, you're down 0.69%. So you're churning is what you're doing in the S&P on a closing basis, and you can see it there. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like every day the market is going up. I think you'd agree with that. You can see the churn right through here. The market has so far held the 18-day average of closes. The market has paid attention to the resistance at the upper Bollinger Band. Now, pay attention here. Momentum. You're losing the bullish embedded reading. When that occurs, the market typically, I cannot use the word always, I can say typically, momentum turns before prices turn. This is a warning sign this market might be ready to return to that 18-day average of closes. You never did embed in the NASDAQ. All you did is you've been going sideways between the 18-day average and the upper Bollinger Band for over a week, and you've really gone nowhere in that period of time. The Dow is actually in a downtrend. You wouldn't feel it, I just said that, but lower highs, lower lows, a potential target, the 38,361 level, that's 300 points lower than where you're at, and you're overbought in the Russell. So, again, have you gone anywhere? I'm not saying you can't go back to the upside. I am saying I believe that momentum leads price. And for the first time, the S&P is losing that momentum. You did it a while back in the Dow. It's already sold itself off. Then we come up to where the 10-year notes and the 5-year and so on. Well, when you get to a Bollinger Band, it's normally a natural resistance point because the algorithm is designed to keep the market trading within it. 95% of the time. You've had a big rise up and you have stalled. You're also in overbought territory. The same thing happening in the 5-year. Support would be the first resistance point. It flips around and that would be in that 107 area. If you look at the dollar index, it has made new lows now for the past week and a half. It's getting oversold. It's challenging for the first time since back here in early February, the 200-day average of closes. If it were to close under it, you could get a leaking of the market, and you might be able to then turn back and say, you know, we have a top in place in the dollar. It could happen. As a chartist, I look at that and go, the possibility is there. Do I get bearish under a Bollinger Band? No, I tell traders not to deploy new money under it, nor do I tell them to deploy new money over it. But when you narrow in like that, you have to move out of this narrowness in one way or the other or just keep churning. In the euro, you're up to the 200-day average and the Bollinger Band, and you're overbought. But this market's going the opposite way of the dollar. The British pound came up because you saw Jeremy Hunt, the chancellor. They did lower one of the taxes that they have there, not an income tax, a payroll tax, and that gave the market a boost. It's good for the economy, good for what's going on. But this again is a market that's up at a resistance point in an overbought territory. Just throw the names off the charts. Would you buy Bollinger Bands? Would you want to deploy money in an overbought market? When we look at Bitcoin, I know that the bulls will keep saying, look at Ira, boy, look at how that market was over the band. And I'll say, yeah, but look at, if you're dying to buy it, it pulls back into the band. The market had a $10,000 drop from high to low. It came back up today about half of that, and it's drifting right here. Is the trend up? It is, until and unless the red line closes under 79, then we can get a bit more to the downside. If it stays embedded, then another challenge of the upper band is likely. When I look at Brent versus WTI, number one, a ship was hit again today in the Red Sea. This time, 2 crewmen were killed. So this, that I can recall, is the first deaths that we've heard. Again, the Houthis have fired on that, and they've been successful in what they've done. I keep hearing that how they've been greatly hurt and how between the UK and the US they've hurt them, yet I keep seeing ship after ship being hit there. In the Brent, again, the upper Bollinger Band's resistance, the trend is up. The bias has been coming down. There's nothing yet, bearish on this. Support's around the 82.18 level. If you take out 81.73, then you do some damage to the bull case. In April WTI, not the same pattern. You have a higher high, lower low. I do look for support in the 7,800 area and for resistance at that band. And again, for traders that buy over it, I'm going to repeat, oftentimes you can do better. Now, I don't see a trend yet to trade off of in gasoline, and I've got my doubts it'll be out of the April. I'm probably going to move to the May contracts now and get you ready for that, because the spring driving season will be here shortly. You want to look at that. Again, the reduction, and that's why if you watch my ETF spider at the end of these, you can see that I moved on and talking about the natural gas reduction, and that has helped pick up the natural gas price. Less supply on the market at this time of the year will help the market find a base. The announcements were made back here. We're coming up. And in oil right now, the U.S. today announced another 3 million barrels that they're looking to buy. They're putting out tenders. I think the deliveries for September on this 3 million barrels. So I put out all this information and a lot more first thing in the morning. Now, let me explain the difference. By then, I've had a chance to look at what Asia's done, European news, the reports coming up, what the overnight markets look like in the futures, where to go. I cover all these different segments, the grains, the soft markets, the meats, everything there. A lot of things I don't cover here. How do you get this? You just go to our website under the word research. It's iraepstein.com. You can also move your cursor to the top here at any point during these videos. It'll be there. But again, iraepstein.com in the research area. Take a look at the videos. I'm Ira. You have yourself a good day.